The GEEK Files, 2026, January 15th, Burnaby. So there I was in Sulacout. I can't remember where I stayed while I was there. First couple of weeks, it was still fall, kind of warm. I think it was actually in the cargo shed on the float dock in Sulacout. Central Air had their main base was in Sulacout. They had another base in Pickle Lake to service those communities, and they had a further base up at Windigo Lake at literally the end of the road. So there I was. My first job when I got there. So I've mentioned that the Havilland Canada products, the Beaver, the Otter, Twin Otter, Dash 7 and Dash 8, all have their fuel tanks in their bellies. Which means it gives you more design opportunities for the wings, because the wings aren't carrying fuel load as well as aircraft load, but you can make them thinner, bigger, whatever. But it means if you crash, you're crashing onto your fuel supply. So, yeah, life doesn't get it gets extremely interesting when you crash one of those aircraft. Not so much the jet fuel guys, the Twin Otter, Dash 7, Dash 8, but the Beaver and Otter, life gets pretty interesting when you crash. But it also means that when you fuel, if there's a leak in the fuel tank, it just pools in the belly of the aircraft, and you can ride around on if your fuel tank's in the wings and they leak into the wings, but they drips out. You can see the drip, right? High or low wing, it drips out. When you're on floats and your fuel tank is in the belly, you don't really pay attention to the bottom of the aircraft, especially on something with a round engine, because they tend to puke a bunch of oil, and the bottom is covered with oil streaks, and you really can't see fuel leaks. So this poor Beaver had a pretty significant fuel leak, and the way that the pilot found out is somehow the fuel leak caught on fire. So just to be really, really pedantic about this, the fuel tank is under the floorboards. It's leaking into the bottom of the aircraft. The fire is now under the fuel tank and creeping up around the fuel tank. So I don't know how the pilot put this out, but he did, miraculously. And so my first job when I got on my first day at work at Central Air was pulling out on a Beaver, pulling out the floorboards and pulling out this roasted fuel tank, and then installing another fuel tank in it. If you think this sort of imbues my time at Central Air, you're right. It just got crazier it didn't get crazier, but it kept getting interesting from there on in. So, yeah, make bad life decisions. You don't get rich, but you get good stories.